Hello everybody, my name is Michelle Francis. I'm living in London, the UK, and what I want to tell the whole world is that I have been accused covertly, behind my back, underneath the table, as being a paedophile, a rapist, a lesbian, and a bully, and a sellout, a coconut, an informer, you name it. All these things I've been accused of behind my back, in a smear campaign, a deliberate smear campaign. These actions are totally racially motivated. They are lies. They are blatant, straightforward lies. None of it is true. None of it at all is true. And this has been a deliberate smear campaign against me. And it has been racially motivated. There's no doubt about it. The reasons are racially motivated. That is straightforward, direct racism and institutional racism, institutional systemic racism and direct racism. This has been going on for many years, and for many years I've been trying to get this out in the open, in the public, and in the legal arena. I want to take this matter into court. I want to take actions against the authorities for malicious slander and direct racism and institutional racism. So my aim and my goal is to take action against the authorities here in the UK for direct racism and institutional racism, for malicious slander, and for the actions, the inhumane, degrading abuse and treatment that I have suffered over a long period of time. It's not only me that has suffered. These actions from the authorities a lot of my family have suffered. My family have suffered. A lot of my family and the wider black community. So immediate members of my family have suffered, and the wider black community. It goes way back, and I would like to say that I found out because I've been fighting this. They took my kids away, all my children away, in December 1998, and I was fighting because they circuited my passport as wanted for serious crime, and they circuited my passport, my British passport, on Interpol as wanted for serious crime. So I couldn't understand what was going on, and I was stopped by the police in France. They took away my kids. All kind of things were happening. So I was fighting it. I came back to the UK in January because they took my children, and they kept them in a children's home in France. Then they said that the children, particularly my son, was suffering in the care of the French authorities. The social services in the UK, London, Merton Social Services, said that he was suffering. So they admitted he was suffering as a child in the care as a result of them circuiting my passport for kidnapping and wanted for serious crime. that influenced the French authorities to take my children. They told them, the British authorities told them to take and detain my children and detain me in custody. And that's what they did. They tried to detain me in custody. But it didn't work. So they detained my children in the French authorities' care home. The British authorities in Merton, London Merton, in Mitcham, Surrey, they then said that my son was suffering in the care home. Yeah. So whether this was, I believe this was racially motivated, why he was suffering. Because remember, this is a little baby of about just under 2 years old. He was still in nappy. He was still fed by bottle. And he was suffering. So I don't know what he could have done to deserve them abusing him. But he suffered. So they said, because of that, they have a right to take the children from the French authorities and return them back to the UK. So a social worker, a black social worker called Joan Payne Williams, she was working as a social worker in Mitcham, Church Road, Mitcham Social Services, Merton Social Services in Mitcham on Church Road. They paid her to come to the UK, come to France, and take the children and travel back to London with my children, and that's what she did. They then started care proceedings in January 1999. So I was fighting and fighting and fighting. I've been fighting this case because I said, but I didn't kidnap my children. And you've got no evidence that I kidnapped. There was no evidence. It was totally fabricated because I'd never kidnapped my children. So basically, I recalled that before they accused me of kidnapping my children, I remember I had a fight with a woman, a white middle-class woman in Sutton, in around about the end of, before while I was pregnant with my son, while I was heavily pregnant with my son, that would have been around about September 1997. I had a fight with not a fight, but a white middle-class woman attacked me. So I punched her back. She punched me in my face. She went to kick me in my stomach and I punched her. So I left it at that. I didn't know. I wasn't aware of the extent of racism in this country and how it worked at the time. I didn't know I was a target. I did not know I was a target until they suddenly accused me of false, malicious allegations of kidnapping my children and wanted for a serious crime. That's when it started to dawn on me, something's not right here. And it's something to do with that conflict with that woman in Sutton. Anyway, a lot of things happened. Very terrible things were happening. Very blatantly open racism that I suffered and abuses that were going on during the care proceedings. From the time they circuited my passport as wanted for kidnapping and serious crime. Anyway, by the end of the proceedings, in September 1999, because remember, I was denying all this. I said, I didn't kidnap my children, and you've taken away my children from me. The woman, because it came on my mind, but at the trial, the woman who I had encountered a conflict with in September 1997 when I was pregnant with my son, she turned up at the trial, the care proceedings trial, to represent me. So I thought, what the hell is this? But I never said anything. She was very nasty. She was blatantly, because obviously she knew and I knew, and the whole of the court knew, except Joan Payne Williams. Joan Payne Williams was innocent. She wasn't involved. She wasn't aware. But the judge was aware. The guardian ad litem was aware. The solicitor for the guardian ad litem were aware. My solicitors, which was Hodge, Jones and Allen, based in Camden Town, were aware. My acting solicitor was Henry Hodge, the senior partner of Hodge, Jones and Allen. Hodge, Jones and Allen. My acting solicitor for those proceedings in 1999, the care proceedings in 1999, was Henry Hodge, the senior partner of Hodge, Jones and Allen, based in Camden Town. Just before the trial, I dismissed Henry Hodge. I wrote to the supervisory of solicitors, which was, I think at the time, was based in Leamington Spa. I contacted them and told them that this man, his actions are going against me, and he's not representing my best interests. He wasn't representing my best interests. That was very clear. So I sacked him. I said, I don't want you to represent me. I'll represent myself. The trial came. A barrister from the bar, which is independent from the solicitors, but was sent by the solicitors who were supposed to represent me. Even though I'd sacked them, they'd sent this woman along, who was the woman I encountered a conflict with while I was pregnant with my son in 1997. She turned up to represent me. She was blatantly hostile, racist, abusive. She said, "Don't kid yourself. You're not getting nowhere with this case." That's what she said right from the very start. She didn't take any details from me. She didn't write any notes. She just came to let me know, "Bitch, I got you. Remember me. Me and you had a conflict in Sutton in 1997. You're not getting nowhere with your case." So we didn't have an interview. She didn't take any instructions from me at all. None. She took no instructions from me. Even though, and on top of that, I'd sacked the solicitors that sent her to represent me. They went ahead with the trial. The judge was completely dismissive of me. He didn't want to hear nothing. They did not allow me to come into the witness box and give my defense. Nothing during the care proceedings. The statements from the solicitors that were supposed to represent me, which was Hodge, Jones and Allen, Henry Hodge, and his assistant barrister or solicitor, I think it was a solicitor or barrister, John Sheehan. They completely dismissed it. They said, "Oh, Michelle, she took up her children and she started running off all over the world and stuff like this." Now, they're supposed to be in defense of me. They're not supposed to say things that are contradictory to me. And I did not put that in no statement, and I'd refused to sign the statements because I did not agree with the statements. Anyway, cut a long story short, I don't want to go into too much details right now. The judge went ahead and ordered that my children, that full care orders be granted upon my children, and that they're now in care of the local authority until they're 18 years old. They had no evidence. There was no abuse. There was no ill treatment. There was no grounds. There was no evidence for them to put full care orders on my children. Anyway, and at the time, at the trial, there was also a statement from Dr. Agri Burke, Dr. George Washington Burke, a top senior consultant psychiatrist based at the time at St. George's Hospital, Tooting, Broadway. St. George's Hospital, Tooting, Broadway, Dr. Agri Burke, a black Jamaican man. Born in Jamaica, grew in Jamaica, a top senior consultant psychiatrist at that time, made a statement. He'd assessed me previously during the care proceedings, and he said, in his professional manner, with all his experience, which was specifically within the black African Caribbean community, he specialized in mental health in that area, including care proceedings and children and stuff like that. He said, after several assessments, he said, Michelle Francis does not suffer from any mental illness whatsoever. That was written in writing and submitted into the court as evidence at that time from Dr. Agri Burke. He suggested in the statement also that Michelle be reunited with her children, that her children, basically there was no reason to take away her children. There was no grounds. So he recommended that the children be returned to Miss Francis in Miss Francis's care, and that they, social services, work with her to help her with accommodation and stuff like that, because I'd lost my accommodation through the situation. And work with Miss Francis, return the children to her care, and work with Miss Francis so that she can live with her children. They ignored all that. The judge was very racist, arrogant, nasty, racist, terrible. He turned around and said, no, full care orders on the children. They stay in care until they're 18. And in regards to the issue of contact, there'll be no contact. No contact with the children. So at that point in time, like I said, the barrister from the bar that was supposed to be independent to the solicitors, but was sent by the solicitors as a representative for the solicitors, was the same exact woman, the white middle-class woman who I encountered a conflict with her. She had a conflict with me in Sutton shopping centre, shopping area, in around about September 1997. How can she represent my best interests? Obviously, there's a big conflict between us. You know, she's a racist, good for nothing, arrogant, violent woman. Why is she being sent to represent me after we had a conflict? So there you go. Since then, I've been fighting. I've been saying I didn't kidnap my children. I've been through hell. I have been through complete, utter hellfire. Hellfire here on the earth. They turn all black people, because I'm black, they turned the amount of black people they turned on me. The amount of black people in this racist, direct racist and institutional racist, this racist conspiracy, the amount of black people and all people they turned on me, you wouldn't even believe me. You would think I must be imagining it. And I never, it went on, it's been going on for a long time. So what I now realized today, we're in 2020, and all the information that I've eventually uncovered bit by bit over the years, suffering, I realize the level of involvement from the top. I met Max Clifford before he died. The amount before he was put in prison for child sex, paedophile and all this kind of thing. all the amount of involvement from the top. And when their own people grass them up, they kill them or something happened to them. You see. So basically, I am not guilty of any of these malicious, nasty, racist allegations, racially motivated allegations and smear campaign. It's a smear campaign. And it's just because I'm a black woman. So basically, they wanted to break me down and break down my confidence and break down my dignity and your pride and everything. You see. So, Henry Hodge was the senior partner of the legal firm Hodge, Jones and Allen, based in Camden Town. Henry Hodge, who is now deceased, he was the husband to Margaret Hodge, Labour MP. Henry Hodge was also Henry Hodge and his wife Margaret Hodge used to live next door to Tony Blair, Sherry and Tony Blair, the Prime Minister at the time. Henry Hodge and Margaret Hodge used to live next door or near to Tony Blair. And they knew Tony Blair very well, and they used to rub shoulders with the Prime Minister at the time and all the who's who and the who is. You can check out Henry Hodge on the internet. All the information about him is on the internet. It speaks for himself. The evidence on the internet, which is the information about him, speaks for itself. It lets you know all his qualifications, his experience. He was top of something to do with immigration. He had years and years and years of experience with immigration and a grassroots level of social injustice and inequality, and all those type of things. Years and years of experience and qualification in that area. And that shows you that basically this man, these people knew and know exactly what they are doing and what they were doing at the time. So Henry Hodge knew exactly what he was doing at the time. This is not no little idiot that just came off the street and don't know nothing about law. This man is fully qualified, so much qualification you can't even believe it. So much qualification and experience from grassroots level. Look up Henry Hodge, husband to Margaret Hodge, on the internet and you will see everything about him there. This man, when he was representing me in my care proceedings, he recognized that I was a victim of a direct racism and institutional racism. He recognized and he knew that he was involved in it and he was part of it. You see, he was involved in it and he was part of it. He knew and he was qualified enough to know there were no grounds. There was no grounds to take away my children. None. The evidence was there. I left to live in Germany. I think it was August the 7th, 1998. Before I left, there was no accusation of kidnapping. As soon as I left to live in Germany with my children, because my children were in my care, so I couldn't have kidnapped them. They were not in the care of anybody else, nobody. They were not in the care of the social services. They were not in the care of no other individual. They were in my care. They were in my care. So it was impossible for me to kidnap my children legally because they were in my care. They was not in the care of the social services or nobody else. As soon as I left to live in Germany, I was registered with my British passport. A legal binding document. Everybody knows when you travel with this, they know where you travel to. They know where you travel, what time you travel, when you travel. It's all recorded on the system. All of it is on the system. I'm not an illegal immigrant. I did not move with my children as a legal immigrant. I had British passport. So when I go to the airport, they check the British passport. It's documented. Okay, this person has traveled on this day and this time with these 3 children. All documented. I went to Germany. I registered. When you go to Germany, I registered at the time in 1998. Germany was part of the EU, the European Union. In my passport, it will tell you I was born in Leeds. All the information is there. I'm a British citizen. I was born in Leeds. It tells you everything there. You see? So I'm part of the EU. I was legal. I was entitled to go and live in Germany as I pleased. I was not under the jurisdiction of nobody. You see? So, Henry Hodge, he knew that because he's a qualified solicitor. Qualified and experienced from grassroots level of social inequality, social injustice, all social matter and all this kind of thing. Immigration, he was top head of immigration. You see, this man, yeah, he went to a top university. It's all documented about Henry Hodge on the internet. He's a husband of Margaret Hodge, the Labour MP. Top Labour MP. So he knew that during the care proceedings, they had no grounds there was no grounds to take away, to grant full care orders on my children. None. This man cannot turn around and say he was manipulated. I don't buy it. I refuse to accept it. I refuse to accept it. This man knew what he was doing. He was too qualified, too educated, too experienced to fall for some little foolishness, some little rumor, some little gossip. He knew what he was doing. He acted with prejudice, with discrimination, with racial prejudice and racial discrimination. He was a socialite. Henry Hodge was a socialite. He loved the it scene. He loved being part of the it, knowing, being there, rubbing shoulders with the who's who, drinking expensive champagne and caviar and all this kind of thing. That's the type of character. I looked at all his information on the internet. You see, he was a racist, stuffed up. I don't even want to talk about what the name on the internet, what I want to call him. He knew what he was doing. Nobody can tell me, oh, it was the Muslim. Oh, it was the black people. Oh, it was... You can't... I won't buy that. He knew what he was doing. He acted of his own accord, not anybody else. He acted with prejudice. You see. With that woman in Sutton, the barrister, he acted in favor of her. He was sticking up for her and supporting her, and he acted with prejudice and racial discrimination. You see, the head of immigration, he didn't care about me. I was just a black shit. So, the Guardian ad litem, Teresa Atkinson, she knew what she was doing also. They were all in it together. Teresa Atkinson is also very qualified and experienced in those areas of law. The point being, she knew there was no evidence or no concrete grounds to take away the children. It was as simple as that. Ken Golati, the solicitor for the Guardian ad litem, he knew what he was doing. He's very qualified, very educated, very experienced also in that area of law. Ken Golati has a firm of solicitors. I think it's called AK and Co Solicitors. They're based in Sutton. They knew what they were doing. The judge, he's very experienced, very qualified. They knew what they were doing. They cannot say somebody down the road manipulated them. All of them, with all combined experiences, with all the combined qualifications, they knew, all of them, what they were doing. They acted in direct racism and institutional racism. Nobody wants to accept they're racist. None of them want to accept the institutional racism is real and exists. None of them want to accept that direct racism is real and it exists in this country. They all want to save face. You see. So these are some of the issues. They took away the children. I was not allowed no contact with my children. Basically, I didn't have no contact. I didn't really have any contact with my children until they left care at 18. Then the social services, when they were 18, just kicked them out on the street. They gave them a little bedsit, a rundown bedsit, very bad condition, very bad housing. They had no money, no nothing, no clothing, no grants, no nothing. Nothing. They had to do everything themselves, work hard and build up everything themselves. They had no help, no support. Yet, the social services said, in a court of law, these children are suffer, they're abused, they're this, they're that. And the same abused, so-called abused children and the suffer children, they just throw them out at 18 and kick them out on the street. But I thought you said they were abused. I thought you said they were abused. If they were abused, why are you kicking